What's up, everyone? I'm Jim Barry, and welcome once again to Miami Life, the show that takes a closer look at life right here in South Florida. Every week we tell you what's going on and what's on the minds of your friends and neighbors here in Miami-Dade and Broward counties. Today, a look at how the escalating conflict in the Middle East is impacting some of our local communities. Plus, a warning about the deadliest mile in the nation that many of us drive each and every day. But we're going to start this show in Southwest Miami-Dade on the sprawling campus of Florida International University. You know, not too long ago, FIU was a punchline, but nobody's laughing anymore. It was recently recognized as one of America's top 50 public universities and now sees itself as a world-class school with more than 55,000 students. The man leading its rise to prominence is Ken Jessel. The FIU president took me on a campus tour while showing off his Panther pride. He is this week's person of interest. You're kind of like that old TV show, The Jeffersons. Like you're moving on up.
Moving on up.
Well, we're moving on up to the side.
FIU is making a name for itself as a leader in higher education. That's right, FIU. The school has cracked the U.S. News & World Report rankings as one of the top 50 public universities in the nation. It now ranks 46th, up 18 spots from last year.
And to all those who make FIU unstoppable.
The prestigious rankings are based on several factors, among them how many students graduate and how well they do once they leave school. The big news prompted us to drop in on University President Ken Jessel, who was beaming like a proud papa.
So we are very, very excited because we have been recognized by U.S. News & World Report as a top 50 public university, number 46, and a top 100 national universities.
Put that in perspective for me. What would the ranking have been 30 years ago, 20 years ago?
Oh, we wouldn't even be in anywhere near the top 100.
Let Jessel tell it, FIU is a blessing and a bargain. Just $6,500 a year in tuition. About half of the school students still need grant money to afford it, and Jessel says 3/4 of those students graduate. A testament, he says, to the school's faculty. 1977.
Yes.
Yeah. The hairstyles are a little different. The hallways leading to Jessel's office tell the story of FIU's humble beginnings. Once upon a time, its main campus was the site of the old Miami Airport. Now, it's a booming academic metropolis with students from the world over.
FIU was the best choice financially, and the campus is amazing.
I'm proud to come to this institution to see that it keeps getting ranked up over the years, which means that their education is improving every year, and that's really good.
The environment is so welcoming, it's so inclusive, it's so educational, so I really do think this is a great option for anybody.
It's those kind of testimonials that make Jessel eager to get out of his office and walk the campus.
Hey, how are you? Everything good?
I feel like I'm walking with the mayor or the president. Well, you are the president. I never recognized my college president, but these kids know theirs.
Let's do a pause up.
Yeah, sure.
You know who this gentleman is?
Kenneth Jessel.
Everybody knows you.
Of course.
When I was
I don't know
at school,
about everybody, but
when
I
was
get
at
around.
school, nobody knew who the president of the university was. Forget he's here for a minute, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think about this school, really?
It's the one place you're going to go where you have the kind of multicultural grounding where everything's kind of brought down to reality. You know, I've audited classes at other schools. No one else brings things back to actual, practical, you know what I'm saying? Understanding of topic material, right? It's a good professor.
In other words, they keep it real.
They keep it real.
In many ways, Ken Jessel is an unlikely university president. For years, he was content as the school's top money man. But when Mark Rosenberg resigned after allegations of sexual harassment, a reluctant Jessel stepped in. And I heard that you didn't really want the job full-time at that point. Is that true?
That's correct. I agreed to step in on an interim basis until they went through the search process. And during the search process, they made a decision that they wanted me to stay on.
But did you want to stay on?
You know, I'm committed to the university. So I committed to a 3-year contract to keep the university moving forward. To me, that was my most important job, making sure that We kept the momentum going.
Jessel took over FIU's top job 2 years ago, right when higher education in Florida turned more political. Governor Ron DeSantis led a move to limit how state universities teach classes on race and gender and to completely outlaw diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. What's wrong with diversity, equity, and inclusion, Ken?
I don't think there's anything wrong with diversity, equity, and inclusion. As I said, we have always been a diverse university. I don't know of anyone that feels that people shouldn't be treated fairly and equitably. We know that diversity is part of FIU.
The governor said that, in his judgment, DEI stands for discrimination and exclusion and indoctrination. You agree with that?
I will tell you that we are in full compliance with federal law, so we do not discriminate. So if you look at our website, you will see we meet the federal requirements. We cannot discriminate under federal law.
Perhaps the final bit of validation that FIU is on the come-up came from homegrown music superstar Pitbull. Mr. Worldwide is plunking down $6 million over the next 5 years so that the school's football stadium will be in his name. As Pitbull would say, Dale. People always said FIU, and they said, you know where I'm going, don't you? FI who? Yeah. It just didn't seem like it had any, people didn't take this place seriously at all.
Right, and that's not the case now. Now when people hear FIU, they know exactly what FIU is. A top-ranked research university. By every measure, we are top-notch.
Thanks to Ken Jessel for giving us that tour of FIU. And as for future goals, he says the university has its sights set on cracking the top 30 U.S. public universities by the year 2030. Up next on Miami Life, Iran's missile attack on Israel signals the latest escalation in ongoing tensions in the Middle East. Hear how that has South Florida's Jewish community on edge as it observes Rosh Hashanah. And the deadliest highway mile in South Florida is a road thousands of South Florida drivers travel every day. We'll tell you where it is when Miami Life continues. Welcome back. We are approaching the one-year mark since the October 7th Hamas terror attack on Israel, and the fallout ever since has rocked Jewish and Muslim communities here in South Florida. Now, the volatile situation in the Middle East has escalated to frightening new levels in recent days. Iran launched hundreds of missiles at Tel Aviv in retaliation for Israel killing the leader of Hezbollah in Lebanon. The news rattled South Florida's large Jewish community, which is in the midst of observing Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. Synagogues are ramping up security as a result. We sat down with Rabbi Yisroel Spalter from Chabad of Weston, and two things we wish to point out. We taped this interview before the start of Rosh Hashanah so he could be here, and our guest from the Palestinian American Bar Association was unable to join us at the very last minute. How much are you troubled by what you're seeing here in recent days in the Middle East?
It's obviously very troubling what happened today, what's going on as we speak. But I have to say that the last couple of weeks, Israel has shown strength and did what it had to do in eliminating and making a big step forward in eliminating part of the problem that exists over there. And they knew that this was probably going to happen, and they'll deal with it.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu seems to have ignored U.S. calls to tamp things down and work for a ceasefire. You think that most of Jewish people here in South Florida support Netanyahu's position?
I haven't spoken to most of the Jews here in Florida, but he has massive support. When you do the right thing, you get support. He has no choice but to put an end to this problem once and for all. We've been through this so many years now, decades. And they keep kicking the can down the road, and there's no point in doing that, because when you do that, it just escalates over and over, and more casualties fall on both sides, by the way. So I commend Mr. Netanyahu for doing what he has to and putting Israel's security at the forefront.
What about the Israeli hostages?
The Israeli hostages have to be rescued by hopefully the IDF, and that's a process, and hopefully it happens very soon. But when you put the pressure, I think it'll happen quicker than if you don't.
So how do you find common ground over there in the Middle East?
That's a good question. Common ground. The first thing you have to do is you have to get rid of the people that are not looking for common ground, because they're the leadership right now, and you'll never find common ground with them. So what Israel has to do first is you have to get rid of the evil and eradicate it. If there is a reasonable partner on the other side, sure, they'll talk to them and they can live in coexistence.
There is a belief by some that this stance by Israel won't bring peace, but instead it will perpetuate future generations of Hamas and Hezbollah terrorists.
Look, Israel has been trying to negotiate with the Arabs in the area for the longest time. I don't accept that reasoning, because whatever they've done, it just perpetuated. They've never succeeded in turning the tide by the Arabs in the region. So I think it's time for Israel to put one thing in front of them, and that is the security of its citizens, and that really should be the only thing. If they can have peace with a future generation and future leadership, great. We would welcome that, obviously, but I don't see that in this foreseeable future.
How has the Jewish community here in South Florida and in the United States and elsewhere processed what's been going on in the Middle East?
I think it has, October 7th and the aftermath of October 7th has been an unbelievable wake-up call to Jews around the world. Not that they were in a slumber, but they engage them much more, and they identify much more and more stronger with Israel and their own Jewishness. And from that perspective and that standpoint, there was a silver lining there. It brought the Jewish people together. And I've never seen a Jewish community here in South Florida as I see it in the last few months, the last year.
What do you say to Palestinian Americans who say the innocent people in Gaza have not deserved what has been rained down upon them?
The innocent people in Gaza has not deserved what has been rained upon them, but there's only one place to put the blame, that is Hamas. That's their leadership. They've launched this attack on October 7th. Israel really has no choice. Any country would defend themselves, and they have to defend themselves. There's no question about that. And if there's collateral damage, which there is in every war, I don't know of a war in the history of human mankind where there was no collateral damage. I think Israel is doing an incredible job in minimizing the collateral damage in proportion. And they need to send a message to their own leadership, not the Jewish leadership.
We invited someone from the Palestinian American Association here to join us today. Couldn't make it at the last minute. But to Palestinians who would be watching this interview, what would you say to them?
I would say that my heart goes out to innocent Palestinians and Arabs that are killed in the conflict. I feel terrible, but not guilty. That's the truth. I feel very sorry about it, but I don't feel guilty, and nor should any Israeli. This is forced upon us, and Israel has no choice. And I would say to them is that for the benefit of the Arabs in the region, it'd be much better if they got rid of Hamas themselves and brought in a new leadership that they can really care for their citizens, for their people. Your leadership has not cared for you and not done you good at all.
Rabbi, thank you for your time today.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much. All right, when Miami Life returns, the deadliest mile in America is right here in South Florida. We'll tell you where it is and why it has become so dangerous. Welcome back. Driving in South Florida can be nerve-wracking, but decades of data say it can also be downright dangerous. A new study indicates the deadliest highway mile in America is in Broward County. Specifically, it's the mile-long stretch of I-95 between the 595 interchange and Marina Mile Boulevard. CBS News Miami's Austin Carter takes a closer look.
For folks who drive on I-95 in Broward County,
it seems like it's getting worse and worse, every day.
They share a common bond.
I avoid I-95 as much as possible.
It's a nerve-wracking ride, even for those in the passenger seat.
I don't drive a lot, but when I do, I avoid the highways completely.
And when it comes to crashes on 95, we've been covering them for years, especially near I-595.
All lanes blocked on I-95 northbound at State Road 84.
A crash here northbound I-95 at I-595. Several lanes are blocked.
This is a scene on the northbound lanes of 95 and State Road 84.
And this is the scene of one of those wrecks that ended in tragedy. 23-year-old former first responder Yanisa Pulido from Hialeah was killed on the southbound lanes. She had stopped to help other drivers involved in a crash. A study by law firm Elk & Elk says this stretch of I-95 between the I-595 interchange and Marina Mile Boulevard is America's deadliest mile. The study citing findings that between 2000 and 2019, 24 people died somewhere along this single mile.
I understand people's concerns. It is a difficult place to drive.
Driving conditions along the mile has the attention of Broward County's Vice Mayor Beam Furr, who drives it every day himself. It's a busy stretch with off-ramps, ongoing construction, and congestion. He's hoping folks will consider getting out of their cars and onto transit.
If you look at both Broward and Miami-Dade and Palm Beach are offering both bus express that puts you in the fast lanes. It's cheaper. You get an extra hour of your day.
Thanks to Austin Carter for that report. By the way, the report also looked at the deadliest 10-mile sections of highway across the nation, and one of them is in Miami-Dade County between the Airport Expressway and the Golden Glades Interchange. We'll be right back. Well, we are all about the rankings today in Miami Life. The 305 is at the very top of the list of the top foodie cities in the United States. A new survey by Wallet Hub on the best and cheapest foodie cities puts Miami at number 1. Of course, we've got countless great restaurants to choose from, including Boshan Bistro, Maman Bakery, as well as classic spots, of course, like Joe's Stone Crabs. About 10 new restaurants open here each month. However, I'm not so sure about that cheapest designation. The food's great in Miami, no doubt, but trust me, you can pay a pretty penny here. All right, time to see which stories have the Miami Life audience talking. A new law is now in effect that makes it illegal to sleep in public spaces like parks and beaches. It's designed as a crackdown on people who are homeless. One commenter believes the problem is much worse than we're being told, saying that, quote, more than 30,000 people are homeless in South Florida. Someone else challenged our political leaders to do more, saying stop spending billions to fight pointless wars and spend taxpayer dollars on your own people. And one viewer even had an answer for the not in our backyard attitudes some take toward the homeless. His solution, they should build a homeless shelter in Pinecrest. Keep sending us your comments and feedback to cbsmiami@cbs.com. That's going to do it for this week's episode of Miami Life. Remember, you'll see a brand new episode every Thursday at 6:30 on the stream. I'm Jim Berry. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon.